What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, September 1st, and this is Blinkers Off. And this is Cooper.
I'm waving at the little gremlin in the background. Hey, Cooper. What's up, bud? Yeah, we're here. We're ready. Saratoga's getting ready to run the first race of the day, which is a hurdle race. They're running 11 today at the spa. Man, it couldn't be a better day, right?
Yep, as you can see, we're gonna have he'll be in and out, I'm sure. Oldest son is at school, the youngest one's here, and I said I got to do the podcast today, buddy, and he said he'd be quiet, so we'll see.
We will see.
We will see. It's gonna be an adventure. How many times do I have to wipe a butt during the show? How many accidents happen? We'll find out. We've only got an hour, so surely I can at least get it done.
Well, the good news is I can go solo for a minute. I'm experienced at this, and if you need to leave, it's not going to be a big deal. Maybe I get Heather on, and she'll talk about the races a little bit.
I can only imagine what my living room area is going to look like when I'm done with this show.
It's not going to be good.
I can hear in the background. I can hear stuff moving around. Like furniture and stuff. So yeah, this will be good. Anyways, we're back from Saratoga. We got back on late Sunday night there for the Travers. Of course, Saratoga back in action this weekend and he's back. Oh, but we got peanuts. There's a peanut. Here you go.
That's all right.
There you go, buddy. It's all right. Yeah. We're back. Got some it's a weird year because you have the Flower Bowl and the Jockey Club races that you're used to seeing at Belmont being at Saratoga. So that's taking a second for me to kind of get used to that. Pacific Classic is the headline. We'll get into that with Flightline. I mean, obviously for a smaller field, you do have the Country Grammar versus Flightline, but I can't think of a kind of a more anticipated Breeders' Cup race we've had so far, because obviously this is a horse that everyone's been ranking. A lot of people have been ranking number one, ourselves included, but he has yet to go farther than a mile. So it's a huge test. This race itself could open the door for all the other ones seemingly, or he could solidify that hey, this classic may be a romp.
Well, it was a great weekend last weekend, and it is a great weekend this weekend, and that's the only way I can describe it. Used to, the Pacific Classic was the week before the Travers, and now it's the week after, and I'm digging the week after now that we've got this field that we've got, and you've got the dueling Breeders' Cup Classic winning you're in races. That's really awesome, because, yes, you do have Flightline and everything that goes with him. Oh, by the way, the Dubai World Cup winner is also in that race that we'll talk about here in a second. He's not a slouch. And then you got Saratoga and you got American Revolution. You got Olympiad. And it's like, damn, these horses aren't bad either. So, but yeah, it all centers around Flightline. If he is who we think he is, to quote the late Dennis Green, then yeah, maybe the Jockey Club Gold Cup doesn't matter. If Flightline was to lose, all of a sudden it really matters, right? So this is a huge weekend, as big as the Travers weekend was, and it was great. It was awesome. This might be bigger when it comes to the Classic.
Yeah, the Jockey Club will run, of course, prior to the Pacific Classic being on the West Coast. So we'll see what happens in that, and then we'll, like you said, we'll watch the Jockey Club, or we'll watch the Pacific Classic, and you'll either be like, well, Flightline's going to beat the shit out of the rest of those horses that we saw earlier, or you're going to say, maybe Olympiad is back in the game now. So, we'll find out. Like you said, it's such an interesting week for the Breeders' Cup Classic races. Talking about the Classic, we maybe saw the 3-year-old top contender for the Classic in Epicenter last week. Of course, we were there in person to watch the Travers, and he did not disappoint. Really across the board all day. The performances were huge. Even when Jackie's Warrior got beat by Cody's Wish, it was still a really big performance. How would you describe that day, and how would you describe Epicenter? Is he a horse that if Flightline falters on Saturday, he obviously becomes a huge player as well.
I think I'll pick him to win the Classic if Flightline falters. That's a huge if. Let me be very clear about that. It is a huge if, and I'm not saying I'm picking him. I'm saying if Flightline was to falter, it becomes wide open. Now remember, I was there live and in person for Life is Good. I was there live and in person for Epicenter. Just visually, I thought Epicenter was a little more impressive. So I'm very high on Epicenter. I thought he was fantastic. But again, we got 2 big races to analyze again this weekend. Jackie's Warrior, I'm not really down on him, but hey, you lost, and that's a tough loss, especially going into a race that you lost last year. You'd like to see the momentum keep going for him. I was really impressed with Cody's Wish. I think he's going to be tough if he enters the dirt mile. I was super impressed with Jack Christopher. I hope they take him to the sprint. I think he's going to be super tough in that race. I think we saw some Breeders' Cup winners. I'm not sure the Epicenter is one. I think he stamped himself as a contender. Jackie's Warrior, Cody's Wish. I think they look tough if they go to the races that I think they're going to go to.
Yeah, and I think when you go to the Philly side of things, to me, Ness just solidified her top spot in that, the Philly and Mares division for the distaff after we saw Malathot. I mean, yeah, she did win, but it's just like out of all those horses, Clairiere, Malathot, and Latruska, it's like you can't count on any of them to get the job done. And so what horse can you count on? Seems like Ness, in my opinion, solidified herself as the top contender, even though she didn't run last week. But watching that race, the personal instant last week at Saratoga, and I agree. I think the move with Jack Christopher is interesting. What they do, the sprint has a little more, even they're both Breeders' Cup races, but the sprint does have a little more oomph behind it, I feel like, than the dirt mile. So you might, but would they go? But would you go to the sprint versus Jackie's Warrior?
Absolutely. I go to the sprint if I'm Jack Christopher because he's got the running style that wins the sprint. You don't want to go straight to the lead. You want to sit off and have a target and make first run. So I would definitely go to the sprint with Jack Christopher, 100%. The other thing is the mile is a 2-turn race this year because it is at Keeneland. I wouldn't fuck with the 2 turns. And just to drop an F-bomb at 12:14 p.m. here. I wouldn't mess with the 2 turns. I would stick with the 1 turn. I wouldn't be afraid of Jackie's Warrior from Jack Christopher. Go beat him, It's also a $2 million race as well. So I think there's a lot of reasons for Jack Christopher to try the sprint.
There's visit number 2. We got a mint action. Is that for me? No, just give me a mint.
There you go. You got a mint.
Davey, I agree. I mean, you'll get every bit of 4-1 on him on Epicenter in the Classic, I think. It seems like they kind of are open. We know Jackie's Warrior is going to train up. Oh, that one's for you. Okay. We know Jackie's Warrior is going to submit time. Oh, thanks. Thank you. Wow. Man, get yourself a mint, boy. That's what I got to say.
That's service. That is service.
I think anyways, I think that with Jackie's Warrior, they're going to train up, as Pearson said, train up to the Breeders' Cup Epicenter. They seem like could possibly do that as well to the Classic. So we'll see if he shows up again, but it might be the last time we see either one of them. And with Jackie's Warrior, in that case, gosh, if Jack Christopher enters that race against him, I'm going to have a hard time. If that's the last time we saw either one of them, it's a bad taste in your mouth to pick Jackie's Warrior, especially considering he lost the same race last year in pretty bad fashion.
So the good thing, if you still like Jackie's Warrior, the race is a furlong shorter. He probably would have won that race. The 4 Gofas at 6 furlongs. So that's good. And I really feel like, and I'll throw Marla's comment up here. I really feel like Cody's Wish is more, better fit for the dirt mile versus the sprint. Because of what I just said, I don't think he would have beat Jackie's Warrior at 6 furlongs. He also is really, really good at a mile, Cody's Wish. So I think the horse that beat him will go to a different race. So there's the positives. The negative still, though, is Jack Christopher is really, really good. You're going to have to be good to beat that horse. So that's going to be the big key there. I don't know what I'm going to do with the sprint. I'm a huge Jackie's Warrior fan. I get what you're saying. but there is like some positives to take out of that race as well. He ran pretty damn good. He just got beat by a horse that ran a tremendous race that day.
Dude, that was brutal. I mean, even though, Cody's Wish definitely ran a huge race, just to have that, everyone, if you guys played the exacta, we played in the guide, we said to hammer the straight exacta Jackie over Cody's Wish. We just didn't think, hi buddy, we just didn't think Jackie could get beat. And, I think he was paying 5-1 on that exacta. And, we're like, okay, we got it. And then you could see Cody's Wish making that move on the turn. We thought, what's in the bag? There's no way he doesn't finish second, because you're not even thinking about him winning that race. You're not thinking about him beating. Then as it kept going and going and going, like, oh no, stop. And Jackie just, the numbers are, I don't know how accurate the numbers are, but Jackie's Warrior ran I think he almost matched his career high somewhere in there, 109-ish, 110. So, I mean, it's like, not like if you base off the numbers, it's not like he ran a bad race. It's just, he got beat.
Yeah. I mean, when you were watching it, you're like, oh, cool. Like Cody's Wish, they're definitely not getting him a part of anything. They're just going to try to make one run, and hopefully he comes up and gets second, is what I was thinking. It was like, he's definitely going to get second. And it's like, oh, no, he's going to win. So that wasn't great for our bets. Thankfully, came out a winner on the day anyway, but that one would have been a nice cash for us, as well as another double that we just barely missed going into the Travers too. I mean, we hit the double, but we hit it for 103 instead of 560 because Mirror Mission couldn't hold on. So it was close to being a huge, huge day for the Bankroll article. It still was a good day though. But yeah, I mean, again, I just think the mile is where Cody's Wish, dirt mile is where Cody's Wish is going to go. So at least you won't have to worry about him. And the big thing for me, Jackie's Warrior showed he can sit off the pace in the Vanderbilt. Think about doing that in the sprint would be my recommendation to the Asmussen camp.
Yeah, and by the way, Marla, yes, I do have a fantastic. He's like, I have Halterman in this year, and I've got him in this year. So I'm getting double feedback here.
We're challenging you today for sure.
Yeah, I'm a pro though. I'm a pro.
Yes.
No, I mean, I think with Cody's Wish, that race was, I don't know. That one's one of those that, because he ran a great race, but he ran so much better than he's ever ran. Can he do that again? Even though I do agree the mile, he might be a little bit overbet in the next time he shows up, just because of that performance, which was very nice. And you're right about the guy, dude. I've never felt better about only making, I think we only made like $60 or something on the day from the Bankroll. I never felt better about that kind of performance, because wow, we were live to so many either big bets, or like you said, the Mirror Mission almost happened, which would have been a huge payout. That exacta would have been a big one. We put ourselves in a position in the personal ensign to, even though it wasn't close, frankly, but we had Latrusca over Clairiere, which paid like 9-1, somewhere in that department. So it's like we were putting ourselves in position on a day that was very short and chalky for the most part, trying to make the most money possible, And I thought we did a really good job of putting ourselves in that position. Just couldn't quite break through to get the big scores, but we still did enough. Of course, hammering Epicenter, playing that double, even though like I said, didn't pay a ton, did pay some, and kind of got us going there towards the end. So yeah, it was one of those days, but we were so close. So hopefully we can do it well this weekend. In the Pacific Classic, we have the Pacific Classic wagering guide coming up here. It's available. Actually, it'll be available later today. So Halterman and I were talking. You don't know the multi-race sequences yet, so that's exciting since it's 2 days away.
Yeah, they don't have the multi-race sequences that are going to be available on that day. So the guide, we're literally sitting on it. I mean, it's pretty much done. I might make one or two little handicapping changes, but we're literally just waiting for that to come out. So like you said, I would say, tonight or tomorrow morning, we'll probably have that thing out. We've got the heavy lifting is done. So not too much left to go on that one. And like you said, hopefully again, you got a situation, there's a horse you really like, and now you just got to get alive to that horse for a little bit of money. And we did with Epicenter, almost alive to a ton, but still was alive to a lot, and it came through. So, yeah, you never want to complain when you have a positive day, but what could have been is how I remember that Travers in a lot of ways.
Well, in racing, all you got to do is the best thing you can do, especially in those either multis and things like that, is to put yourself in the position to cash, right? And then after that, you just got to have hope the horses run. So I thought we did a good job of that. All right, let's get to today's show because I'm on borrowed time as it is.
Yes, you are.
We've got talking about that Pacific Classic. We are going to give a preview and give picks for the 2022 $1 million TVG Pacific Classic this weekend at Del Mar. It's a Breeders' Cup winning or in for the 2022 Breeders' Cup Classic. Dude, we got 4 Breeders' Cup winning or ins this weekend. Well, on Saturday alone, 4 of them, 2 of them are Classic winning or in. So it's a huge, huge weekend. We'll also get rapid fire selections for those 3 remaining Breeders' Cup Challenge races this weekend at Del Mar and Saratoga. It is loaded all day from a Breeders' Cup perspective, from a Classic perspective. This is the most important weekend we've got to yet on this road to the Breeders' Cup. So, without any further ado, let's go.
Right when we go on the air, the mowers show up as well. So it's like this show could be cursed today.
Yeah, I know. I mean, anytime you go, we're doing a noon show, we never do that. It's just I think we're just, we don't know it's a little out of sync. We're not used to doing this.
Literally, the music ends. I look out, I'm like, oh, it's the mowers. And they mow the very front, like where I'm sitting first. So I was like, oh, God. But I tried to mute it as much as possible, but.
Yeah, I could hear a little bit of it, but I had a child in my ear, so I wasn't too distracted.
Yeah, you didn't care too bad. It's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Now they've got the blowers out, so they're about done. That's good news.
Hey, so is this your yard?
Yeah.
So did you get a new service, or did the originals finally start showing up?
No, we got a new one from the last time I told you, but no, they show up every Thursday. We got them when we left for New York, and because you got a month, you're gonna have to have somebody mow the yard, and they still owe us a couple more. I think I'll probably say that's okay after that. Although I don't know, it's kind of nice not mowing it either. I don't know, we'll see.
My yard, I haven't. I fired my crew, and I haven't mowed in like 2 weeks. So, oh,
I love it. That's great.
I'm like
now it's
to the
gonna feel
point
like
now where I can't hear it. I'm to the point now where it's like I feel like I'm stopped watering it. I'm ready for fall to be here. I'm like pissed on it. I'll mow it a few more times. I'll be done with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely over grass for sure for the year. I don't care anymore.
Over the grass. Yeah,
that's right.
1 week out. 1 week from today is NFL season opener. So, it's like officially I don't give a shit about mowing season. So,
yeah.
All right, what do you say we do a little? Let's kick things off with the Pacific Classic.
Let's do it.
Saturday, Del Mar Race 10, the TVG Pacific Classic Stakes Grade 1 worth $1 million for 3-year-olds and up, going 1.25 miles. Field of 6 shows up for this Breeders' Cup win and you're in event for the Breeders' Cup Longines Classic. That's right. And say no more, because the horse that is just unbelievably talented, the horse that has been ranked number 1 in the NTRA poll, has been ranked number 1 in the Breeders' Cup Classic rankings we do, all those rankings. Flightline, the 5-horse, finally back on the track after his dominating win, the Met Mile, back in June. They've been pointing to this race ever since. The stretch out hasn't been past a mile that day in the Met Mile. Of course, now quite the change, right? Going from a mile. It's not like he's going from a mile to mile 16, mile to mile 8. No, he's going a mile to a mile and a quarter. The classic distance. His trainer Sadler thinks it'll be no issue. He's obviously bred to go long. Flightline, Halterman, really it comes down to Flightline versus Country Grammar, seemingly on paper. I mean, I know where you're going. You know where I'm going. But let's talk about the race. Flightline. I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, here it is, right? I mean, we've been in a holding pattern for this to happen, because with the Classic, you've got a horse that many are ranking number one right now that's never been a mile and a quarter. Everything you look at says there absolutely is going to be no problem that he gets it, you know, but you don't know until he does it. And so this is the big thing, and everything with the Breeders' Cup is going to break depending on what happens right here in this race. I love horses that stretch out that have speed. I absolutely love it. I love horses that stretch out that have speed that have also shown they can sit off the pace. I mean, and that's Flightline again. That's what he did in the Met Mile. So if he needs to do that, he can do it. I love horses that have a great pedigree for the distance. This is Flightline again. There aren't anything, there's nothing you're going to look at to go, oh, he can't do it. You know, is the horse sound? I have to think he is. I don't think they enter this horse if he's not sound. Look how they've kind of spaced him out. I think when he enters a race, it means he's doing really well, and it means he's really healthy. So I just don't have any reason to think he will not get the distance. If he does, I think they're running for second. I think anytime this horse shows up and puts up his best effort, any horse he's facing is probably running for second. I have to put Flightline on top in this situation. And like I said, am I worried about the distance? No, not really.
So that doesn't concern the distance doesn't bother you at all.
No.
What about the 1 to 5?
I looked at it like I looked at Nick's Go last year. Everybody's like, oh, he can't get the Classic distance. I was like, why? I didn't see a good argument. He got the Classic distance just fine. What is the argument that he can't? Just because he's never done it before? Well, that means you don't know one way or the other. That's
just it. Like, the argument that he can't get the distance certainly isn't evident on the track, right? So it's either, you know, the only thing you can base that off of is the fact that you don't think he's breeding, which is breeding is phenomenal for the turf or for the going the distance. And so it's like, there's nothing that I've seen with him that tells me, I don't know if he can get the distance. I guess the concern for a lot of people would be, can he carry that speed? You know, because you got to remember, this is a horse that, I mean, even though if he did rate a little bit in that Met Mile because he kind of had to, but a horse that likes to go 22 and 44, you know, pretty much every time, 22 and 45 last time out in that Met Mile. Can a horse like that, you know, 108 and change, can a horse like that do those fractions and finish the race off going a mile and a quarter? Not to mention, you also have horses like Country Grammar, you know, grade 1 winner. You've got horses like Express Train, a grade 1 winner. You've got horses like Royal Ship, which I think is a grade 2 winner. Point is, you've got horses that, even if they aren't like overly great, Country Grammar may be the exception, they'll be coming, right? And Flightline will have to continue on. In my opinion, it's cut and dry. Frankly, he's gonna do his thing so well, so fast, so early in the race. Yeah, we say this all the time, right? You're with him, with a horse like Flightline, he puts these horses in an incredibly tough position. It basically makes these horses have to run a career best race in order to beat him, because he's so fast early in the race that your two options are to try to go with him, which, let's just go ask Speaker's Corner how that worked out, or you have to sit off and take a run at him late. Well, by then you're way too far out of it. And even if he does slow down coming home, you're not going to get to him. So he's the perfect quintessential damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of horse. He's Nick Scos on steroids. I don't know how he gets beat, frankly, in this race.
Well, I think this is how. If he gets to the half mile pole or the mile pole, and he just he's not sound enough to go a mile and a quarter, and he gets pulled up. I mean, that's certainly a way you could do it. Or if, like some out there think, he's just going to hit a wall. in that last eighth of a mile. That's how you get beat in this spot. And the other way you get beat is if he does hit the wall, Country Grammar can get 1.25 miles without any problem. And we know, and he's proven that it's not like he's facing chump change. This horse won the Dubai World Cup, so he can go get him if he doesn't want the distance. So, but again, it's like there's just no reason to think he can't, none whatsoever. And so that's what I keep going back to. Yeah, maybe he gets pulled up, but I'm not sitting here just going to say, well, you know what? I'm going to bet against him because I think he's going to get injured in this race. I don't look at it like that. I mean, if you want to, that's fine. But there just isn't a lot of data that for when I look at it, it says he can't do it. Like everybody has to do something for the first time. That doesn't mean they're not going to be good at it.
How about the fact that John White has made Flightline the 1-5 morning line favorite of this race, a Pacific Classic grade 1 $1 million race, Breeders' Cup, challenge race. And he's made the horse that's never gone the distance 1-5. Second choice being Country Grammar at 4-1. That's taken a lot of flack. People have given that a lot of flack. What are your thoughts on the morning line?
I was very surprised by the morning line, but with that being said, I don't think it's going to end up being wrong. I think it took a lot of balls to make a horse 1-5 in the spot. But when you think of all the talk this horse is getting, he's probably going to end up 1-5 at post time, or actually off odds, I should say. When he goes out of the gate, he'll probably be 1-5. Well, the morning line maker's job is to make the morning line accurate as far as the numbers that he gives for the morning line to match what the off odds are of the horse. So if I sit here and I think, well, he probably will be 1-5, well, then the morning line is good. The morning line would be accurate at 1-5. Like I said, it's going out not really on a limb, but it's not something you see very often. A horse 1-5 in a race like this, but I have a feeling John's going to be accurate with this line. I think when it's all said and done, the horse will probably be 1-5. So I think he's probably made a pretty accurate judgment there.
Yeah, it does take some major stones to make a 1-5 morning line in a race.
Well, I'll just say here's why. If he makes him 3-5 or 1-2, nobody's saying a word. The line's not going to be accurate, but nobody's saying a word. You make him 1-5, you do open yourself up to criticism. And the risk of making him 1-5 really isn't worth the reward, because a lot of people at the end of the day, once the race is here, they're gonna be like, yeah, I didn't, who cares? He got it right. Right.
Yeah. It's because I think even if you make him 2-5 or 3-5 and he gets bet down to 1-5, no one cares. Right. You're like, oh, people just love this horse more than, you expected. But John wants to be, he takes this very seriously. He wants to get it dead on. And he goes back and looks and and so he's taken into account the fact that this horse is being ranked number 1 by everybody, that he's taken into account that his trainer has said this is a once in a lifetime kind of horse, not for his lifetime, any kind of lifetime. Anybody to have a horse this good, Flightline is that kind of horse. Like, he thinks this horse is one of the best horses that we've ever seen. That's how good he thinks Flightline is. And so you taking all that into account, I don't think it's a reach.
Well, and again, it's like maybe he's being overhyped, but when you make a morning line, you have to take that into account. The hype is what you're trying to take.
That's what we're taking into account when you make the bet, right?
Exactly. So again, he did something that opens himself up for criticism, but at the end of the day, he probably is going to be accurate. If you ask me, what do you think his off odds are going to be? I would say 1-5, 2-5 at the highest. Well, John did his job, and so I commend him for that. I don't have a problem with it. I think he did his job.
So even though he showed he can, I don't know that I see a scenario that, especially in the small field, that, of course, I didn't think it would happen with Speaker's Corner, but I don't see a scenario here that Flightline isn't on the lead. and kind of doing things his own way, which makes it even more dangerous for everybody else in the race. Stiletto Boy does have speed, but I don't think he's got this kind of speed. So the question becomes, if he does get weary-legged, what? I can't leave right now. If he does become weary-legged, who's the first horse to kind of get to him?
Country Grammar. He's the only horse that can get to him. It's Country Grammar. That is the horse. Don't try to overanalyze this thing. The 5's going to turn for home in front. Country Grammar is going to be making the move. The 5's either going to finish with run and win, or the 2, Country Grammar, will beat him. That's it. That's the race.
I don't think it's not like rocket science, right? I mean, and you got to argue definitely. Like, that's the thing. If Flightline's on in this race, Country Grammar is an easy pick here as well, I think, because it's Baffert second off the layoff after Maidon. He didn't run terrible in San Diego, but obviously needed that race. So you got to assume that he's going to fire a better race here. He's the danger. It's going to take, Flightline to just not like this distance and get a little tired late, I think, for Country Grammar to come get him. All right, so let's say he went. By the way, Nick asked extra hope, a rabbit to try and mess with him. I mean, maybe, but is he a rabbit? Is he fast enough to even attempt it? That's the problem. I don't know that he is.
If he messes with him, Flightline's got other issues besides him. Like, he's not quite right. He's not firing his best effort, something like that. No horse should be able to mess with him in this race. No horse should have that ability. And if they try it, they're not going to be there long enough to really mess with him, because they're going to fall quicker than him. So I get it. You always try to look for that. Maybe he tries it, but he's not good enough to mess with him.
I mean, the obvious question is, I think I know the answer to this question is, if he rolls here, again, this is going to be the last, challenge race of the day as far as the Classic goes. If Flightline rolls here, is there anything, because we won't see him again till the Classic, assuming everything goes smoothly here, is he, all health aside, assuming health, is there any way you can come off a Flightline if he rolls here?
No.
I mean, because, like, to me, this is not only is this a race to see what he does stretching out, he could completely fall off everyone's list, or he could become the pick already, and it's September 1st or September 3rd when this race runs. He's the pick to win the Breeders' Cup 2 months prior before the race. Like, that's how wide this gap is in this race for him.
Somebody, Rodney, who didn't really understand what I was saying, got really mad when I said that. But here's the deal. If he was to lose here, he's not pointing for the Classic. It most likely he would not point for the Classic. So he would fall completely off the Classic rankings, because he's probably going to go to the Dirt Mile. So, yeah, he will go out, because the only way he loses, in our opinion, is if he can't get the distance of 1.25 miles. So therefore, you're not going to run him out there again. So yeah, if he loses, he's going to fall off the rankings completely. And if he wins, he's going to probably be the shortest price, or close to the shortest price we've seen in a Classic, especially if he wins by 3 or 4 lengths. So yeah, it's an all or nothing. It's a slam dunk, or you go up for the dunk and the rim rejects you so far, the ball goes out of the building. That's what this is.
Yeah, and there's really no in between, right?
No,
I agree, because even if he runs a good race, quote unquote good, but gets falters late or something, well, they're not going to want to run him in the Classic. They're going to want to point him back to the Dirt Mile.
And he's 1-9 in the Dirt Mile, if that's what they choose to do.
Right, he's 1-9 wherever they choose to run him, other than the Classic, if that proves to be the fact.
Yeah, let me ask you this: what price is he in the Classic if he wins this race?
He might be 6 to 5.
I think he might be lower. I think he
could be 4 to 5.
Yeah.
What was Nick's go last year?
3 to 1.
Oh yeah, I remember that. We got 3-1 on that. Was nuts.
People were idiots.
And I think he
I
was,
can't
it was
remember
like
what Pharaoh
5-2 was the favorite, maybe.
Yeah,
Pharaoh may have been 8-5 or something.
I think he was more like even or 4-5.
Assuming that, because even if there's nothing else I could, like, even if Taba freaks in the Pennsylvania Derby or something, he's still, I mean, nothing could shake a Flightline romp here, or Flightline performance win in the Pacific Classic. Nothing could shake him being a heavy favorite, in my opinion, whatever we see for the next month.
So Pharaoh was 3-5 in that race.
Wow.
So if Pharaoh's 3-5, well, of course he was coming off a loss too. I don't know what Flightline could be. There's really no telling.
We'll see. I mean, Flightline, and I know we've compared him to Pharaoh in the past, and it's not fair to do that to Pharaoh yet, because obviously Flightline still has a lot to prove. But from a standpoint of, like, Pharaoh would just kind of, and Justify, I guess, did it too a little bit, where it's like Pharaoh would just go out. He didn't have to really worry about anyone else, because he just went out and did his thing. And that seems what Flightline can do. I mean, even it's like you think about, like the Life is Good in the race and Epicenter. If Flightline just does his thing, then I don't care who else is in the race, and that's kind of the point. Even though Life is Good does show a lot of speed, if Flightline kind of shows how versatile he is, you reference Life is Good as being a kind of horse that's like, doesn't care, just go and see how far you can take it. Whereas Flightline is like the all pro of that, and can decide if he wants to go, or if Life is Good just wants to freak. Well, Brad can just be like, all right, we'll just chill out and wait. But he has that ability. He has that high cruising speed. Flightline does, to where even if someone does go, like I talked about earlier with Flightline, if he goes out, people can't hang with him. If Life is Good were to run out, want to go like 21 or something, 22, well, Flightline can just sit right there off of him and wait.
Yep. And that's the other big key, that he showed that versatility in the Met Mile. And I don't think we're going to see it here, but if he has to do it, he can do it. And that's really good to know, without any doubt. And you're right. I mean, you got two horses and they both look really, really good, and one's versatile and one's not. Well, you kind of tend to lean toward that one that's versatile a little bit. And I don't think you're going to run with Life is Good early. If you try to put your nose in front of him, he's going to try to put his nose right back in front of you. I just really feel like that's the type of horse he is. He does not want to be behind you at any point. Where Flightline showed that it's not that big of a deal to him. So I think that gives him a little bit of advantage. But again, we'll see. He's got to prove it this weekend at this distance. I have no worries, but he still has to go out and do it.
How about this horse? And I'll at least bring him up just because we've talked about two horses here of this field. So Mar likes Express Train, a horse that shouldn't think Sheriff's Winter, the horse who didn't have a chance. Horse that really likes Del Mar, a horse that's been very consistent. Of course, coming in, he did win the big cap earlier this year at Santa Anita. We haven't seen him since April. Obviously, coming in off a layoff. I could never pick him here, but I think he could run well and finish. I mean, if Flightline rolls, like, he could finish second or third. I wouldn't have the confidence to pick him on top in this race, personally.
I would use him underneath if you're going to use him. Him winning would be a major, major upset. But upsets do happen. We know that. I can't say that he's a horrible horse, because he's not. He's solid. I would just try to use him underneath. Marla says, hey, don't put words in my mouth.
My bad.
Well, the way you wrote that, Marla, I could see how you would think maybe that you like him a little bit. I think he'll run okay, but he's talent-wise, he's not in that same category. He's going to need a little bit of help in this race. He will probably fire, though. I can't say that he's not going to fire whatsoever.
All right. We both think this is a must-see TV, and even if he makes this race pretty unbettable, Flightline does those odds. Unless you want to try to do like a Flightline over Express Train or something like that. We've made money with that kind of theory, or that kind of, look at those exactas. the payouts, the will pays prior to the race, see what angles, what are paying well, and try to, take a swing at one of those straight exactas. It's probably about the only way you can make money here, or use Flightline as your squeeze free square and move on. But Halter and I are both on Flightline. You've got to watch this race, even if you aren't betting this, because this is the biggest race that we've had so far heading into the Breeders' Cup. And Nick says he'll be there in person to watch this. I hope you see a freaky performance, Nick. It's just one of those races. If you like horse racing, how can you not like this race? How can you not like this horse and seeing if he can get the job done, even if, like you say, if you have $0 on the line. So Flightline, that's the pick. Halter and I are both rolling with the Speedster. What you got here, buddy?
As Jason said, there's a minion in the room. What do you got?
We got some rip rolls.
Nice. Yeah, Nick, nothing better being at the track and seeing kind of a freakish performance. Hopefully you get to see it. And JL says, Cyberknife go to the Classic if Flightline loses Saturday and points to the mile. A lot of intriguing dominoes that could fall. That's one that you could think of. There's a lot that we probably aren't thinking of at the moment, too. That's kind of the deal. Everybody's going to watch this, whether they want to admit it or not, in the horse racing world. And then they're going to do whatever they think's best after this breaks. And Flightline is we're all just going to be sitting here and watching it. You can watch it, and handicappers, horsemen, whatever, will pivot off what happens in this race.
Yeah, it's a domino type of race for sure. Who's going to go where? You might have people on the fence about the Classic, like you said, and if he rolls here, you might say, oh, well, let's go to the Dirt Mile this year. Maybe next year we could try the Classic. If he's maybe not around, we can get try to avoid him, because, like you said, if he's not in the Dirt Mile, that there's another and if Jack Christopher goes to the Sprint, that Dirt Mile, it becomes more and more open for a 3-year-old or something like that to go and try to win the thing. That doesn't have to face Life is Good, doesn't have to face Epicenter, and certainly doesn't have to face Flightline or Country Grammar here. So
yep,
this is exciting. This is my favorite. It's like it's my favorite angle. It's my favorite kind of setup where you have a horse stretching out for the first time. I love a horse that just goes to the lead and tries to throw it down. And top of that, you've got the Breeders' Cup Classic favorite currently in the race. So it's exciting. It's my kind of race. I'm really excited to see what he does. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to roll.
He should.
All right, let's do some rapid fire. And we got the 3 other Breeders' Cup Challenge races to talk about here. Got the one at Del Mar, the next race, actually. So you got back-to-back races there at Del Mar on Saturday. This one's for the Longines Turf. Then you've got, we'll go to Saratoga for the Flower Bowl and the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on the Gold Cup, because I thought that was a very interesting race, to say the least. All right. Time for Rapid Fire, presented by our Inside Track to the Pacific Classic Wagering Guide, now available on the website at racingdudes.com. Just click the products page or Get Racing Dudes premium button. You'll see that there, the Inside Track to the 2022 Pacific Classic. Features all 5 stakes races at Del Mar, including the $1 million TVG Pacific Classic. Plus, you'll get bonus race by race analysis, betting suggestions, and multi-race plays for the entire Del Mar card. But you'll also get bonus analysis of the Jockey Club Gold Cup from Saratoga. How are we going to play that? So there's 6 stakes races in the card, multi-race wagers, and of course the non-stakes races as well in that guide. Pacific Classic Wagering Guide. Go get that at racingdudes.com. You get it free if you are a premium subscriber. All right, Halterman. So we got 4 on Saturday to talk about here. 4, we talked about 1, the Pacific Classic, but the next race at Del Mar, race 11, the Del Mar Handicap, it's a grade 2 or $300K for 3-year-olds and up, going 1 3/8 miles on the turf, and it is a Breeders' Cup win, and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Longines Turf. And dude, if you felt good about the last one, how you feeling about the field of 11 here?
Well, hopefully you can get as deep as possible. That's what she said. So hopefully you can go deep in this spot. And it's a tough race. It's wide open. Look, I went back to a horse that won last time out and won at 16-1. And you know me, I don't like to play these horses back after they win at a decent price, but I really just couldn't get away from the number 9 Masterpiece. This horse won the Eddie Reed in stylish fashion by over 3 lengths last time out. Has some nice races on his past performances before that effort. So that's kind of the good news. Was second in this race a year ago at odds of 22-1. You're going to get a shorter price here. Beat a horse named Hong Kong Harry, who I like a lot and was running really well coming into that race. He was able to feed him without any problem. Hong Kong Harry came back was second in that race, I should say, and will probably be a favorite in one of the earlier races on this card. So I really like Masterpiece here. I think he's going to run awfully well. I'll look for him to try to make it 2 in a row.
Yeah, this is a wide open event here. I mean, it is just all over the place. I liked Gold Phoenix quite a bit here for Diamano. Diamano's got several options. Most of them are, mostly untested. This is one of those as well. But the horse has kind of been knocking on the door. Got Pratt back aboard, which I think is nice. When these guys team up, they team up very well, hitting almost 30%. So I think that horse is dangerous. They don't have the odds out yet, so that might be, definitely be a horse I use. But from a top play perspective, you kind of said everything. I couldn't get past Masterpiece either. I'm with you. I don't like playing that angle, like the 16-1 now. Obviously going to be much lower than 16-1, but this horse likes Del Mar. I think the horse is kind of coming into his own since, finally kind of getting back to maybe what Chad Brown originally thought he had with this horse. So Masterpiece, I thought that last race in the Eddie Reed showed like a kind of okay, this horse is sort of back or at least even has arrived. And so I think with a pace setup, I think is going to be somewhat decent. I was looking for horses that are my solid closers, and Masterpiece is certainly that. Don't you think the pace is going to be, I wouldn't say hot, but it's good. Tis a Magician in here. Tingo Tingo Tango likes to be forwardly placed. There's plenty of speed in the race. Master Foxhounds. I think this race will be set up fast enough for the Masterpiece to kind of track him down.
I do too. I think he's going to get a perfect setup. I wrote that in the guide, actually, that will be out tomorrow or later this evening, one of the two. And I said, listen, that's another reason that I think Masterpiece has got a great shot here. He's going to get the setup. He got a decent setup last time and took advantage of it. He should get a similar one. He to me was way the horse to beat in this spot. With that being said, there are a lot of other options and a lot of decent horses in here for sure, but he looks tough on paper.
Well, we'll see. I don't know that I love any of these horses for the Breeders' Cup, but having said that, it is held. They run this race for a reason, and these Del Mar, especially if it was out of Del Mar, you might hold a little more weight to this kind of race because, they might really like the turf out there, but I don't know that any of these horses are going to be a huge play come Breeders' Cup, but they are in a Breeders' Cup winning her in for the Longines turf. And number 9, Halter and I both like number 9 Masterpiece to win.
I'm interested to see the morning line on this one because that's got to be a tough one to make.
Yeah, I don't think John's too worried about that one because he's probably thinking this thing is you just throw some darts on the board for this. I have no idea. Masterpiece, will he be the favorite?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's tough.
All right, let's go to Saratoga on Saturday. Race 10, the Flower Bowl Stakes, grade 2. That's right, Flower Bowl, Saratoga. It's going to take a little while to get used to that one. Like I said, grade 2, race 10, 600K fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and up, 1-1. Another 1 3/8 on the turf here with the Breeders' Cup berth on the line. The Breeders' Cup Maker's Mark filly and mare turf winning her in. And you've got a field of 7 lined up for this one. And guess what? Ultimately, the odds are out, and you're getting 2-5. Morning line favorite, number 4, Warlike Goddess, very deservingly 2-5, I should say, as well. So he didn't quite go 1-5 like John, but he almost did. And I think that's deservingly.
I think the horse will be 1-5. Might be exactly. 1-9. Single, move on. Warlike Goddess.
Yeah, this is quite evident that they are avoiding this horse. It's just there's no one. The only horse in here that strikes any concern is the horse that she rolled right by in Virginia Joy last time, right? So you're like, well, that's not any concern, but she just like that performance in the Glens Falls was. She got a 97, and you talk about a 97 plus. That's the definition of a plus performance. I mean, that horse Rosario maybe rode her for about 100 yards in the race. That's it. Yeah. That's all you really needed to do, and then it was over. She's a different animal than these horses.
She was a joy to watch last time. Like you said, the 2 main challengers are the 2 she just waxed without really running. I mean, they all can lose, right? But there's no logical way that she loses this race. Not one.
Yeah, and to this point, which I think is, which I had read that too, Nick, that Mott wants to point her to the turf, not the filly mare turf, come Breeders' Cup time. I don't know. I mean, she couldn't get the job done last year in the Breeders' Cup filly mare turf. He must like her this year going to the turf if that's the plan. Not much tougher race, but obviously a horse that I think wants to go the longer the better.
We'll see what the price is. We'll see who else comes over. When it comes to the Breeders' Cup, I don't get too excited about analyzing the turf races until we know who actually is coming over for the race from overseas. She's going to be a player in there. If she ran last week in the Sword Dancer, I would have picked her. So that's how I kind of look at it right now. Again, who's coming over from Europe is going to be the big question, but that division's not great here in the United States. Do you think Warlike Goddess could beat Gafo? I do.
Yeah, exactly. I would bet her. I'd beat her every time over Gafo every single time.
I wonder if Rosario would have rode Warlike Goddess over Gafo.
Dude, I don't think there's any question.
I don't think so either.
I'm still mad at Gafo. I don't want to talk about it. Irad.
Yes.
Irad's rolling right now.
He is in front.
He's going to win.
Right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. But yeah, Warlike Goddess is, I don't think there's any. I mean, this is another one of those performances, another one of those races to kind of sit back and watch. Tough to make money on her at being those kind of odds. Like you said, I think 2-5 is going to be value considering what she'll be at come post time. But another one that, if nothing else, use these performances. If you love betting, obviously we all do, but you don't force it here. Instead, use it as education. How am I going to make money on her in the Breeders' Cup? How am I going to fade her in the Breeders' Cup? Watch the race. Let it help you kind of decide that. And you can make money or make money against her, however you play it next time, right? You don't have to bet her in these short price situations. You must watch and use it as education down the road. So you and I are both on number 4, Warlike Goddess. I don't think either one of us think that one's going to be too close. She's a fun horse to watch. Because she's so dominant, and they always try to mess with her in every race, and it always seems like and then she's double the size as most of the horses she races against, and so it's just funny to watch whenever basically Rosario says, "Okay, time to go," and it's game's over. So all right, let's go to the next one here in the final Breeders' Cup Challenge race. It's a Breeders' Cup Classic when you're in another classic race. So this will be the first one on the day. Race 11, the Jockey Club Gold Cup, grade $1 million for 3-year-olds and up, going a mile and a quarter. So you got 2 mile and a quarter classic winning your ends, one at Saratoga, one at Del Mar. You don't have the heavy priced horse here. I mean, Olympiad sitting there at 2-1, but it's a much more competitive field when you got 2-1 on him. You got 3-1 American Revolution. You got 4-1 on First Captain. You got 7-2 on Dynamic One. So it's a much more of a grab bag in this race. But again, it is the first race of the 2 classic races that we'll see on Saturday. It kind of gives us that starting point of what Flightline might have to face when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. So Halterman, field of 8. I thought this one was interesting because, like I said, it's kind of a take your choice kind of race.
I'm a little bit married to American Revolution in this spot. I just really, really like this horse. I thought he would beat Olympiad in the Stephen Foster, and he didn't. That's the bad news. The good news is they've kind of pointed for this race all along, try to get him jazzed up for his best effort yet. So I think he's going to get it. And the other good news, if you're backing American Revolution like me, Olympiad couldn't have looked worse last time out in the Whitney. So the big question, if you're going to back Olympiad, is it, hey, that was just a one-off, no big deal? Or is it kind of what we talked about, and the horse might be on a little bit of a down cycle after winning all those races in a row? For my purposes, I'm hoping it's that, and I'm going to pick American Revolution to win. I'm very, very interested in him in this spot. I also want to mention the number 7, Keep Me in Mind. I think 12-1 is a square price on him. Second time out for Todd Pletcher. I thought he looked better last time out with his first start for Pletcher. I don't think he can win. I think he can spice up the exotics at 12-1. But on top, I am going to go number 5, American Revolution.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. This is because you have the last time these 2 horses faced, Olympiad got the best of American Revolution. And so deservingly is probably the favorite, but this horse just got waxed in the Whitney that day. And, you know, the fact that American Revolution was going to run the Whitney, they scratched him out of the race because they said, we're going to, you know, obviously they had Life is Good in the race as well. So it's like, we're going to just point him to the Jockey Club. Didn't want to mess with it. So this horse is coming in fresh. This is a race kind of they pointed to since the Stephen Foster, basically. And then Olympiad, you're coming in with that sour taste after just getting annihilated in that Whitney. And I mean, it's one thing if he got got ran down by Life is Good or couldn't quite get to Life is Good. I mean, he just got his heart ripped out, really. And that scares me when a horse looks that bad, who had looked that good, looks that bad the next, you know, can they rebound? You know, that's the concern. And we said this all year long with Olympiad. Can Mott, which is a great, great trainer, but he's been good all year long. Can he get him to the Breeders' Cup in this kind of form? And is he starting to tail off here? Maybe the Whitney was the start of that. For those reasons, at 2-1, I cannot play. So if you're married to American Revolution, I'm kind of dating American Revolution, I think, I guess, because I think I pick him every time too. He looked, even though he got beaten at Stephen Foster, he ran a much better race than he did on his return race after the cigar, you know. So I think this is the race that maybe he could pop and run that, you know, 110, 112 buyer and really look impressive. Because I do think he's a classic horse. I do. I think he deserves to be in the race. And so he's my top pick here. I like First Captain a decent amount here at 4. If you can get that 4-1, I think that's a very nice play here. I love the fact that size stays aboard. You know, this is a horse that definitely doesn't have the credentials as some of these others in terms of stakes, but if you can somehow get a hot pace in this race and this thing kind of melts down a little bit, I think First Captain could maybe be right there towards the end. And I'm with you on Keep Me in the Mind. I think 12-1 is super square. I thought he looked really good last time out. And he's a horse that he's always there, right? He runs he's been running tough races really since he was a juvenile, and always just a little bit too much for him, but runs solid races. Now he's with Pletcher. He's getting a second start with Pletcher. Looked really good the first time. He's got that. He likes Saratoga, but he also has that late running ability. Maybe, you know, if this thing kind of melts down and Olympiad can't, obviously is maybe too tired, can't get it done. Maybe Keep Me in Mind is a sneaky play here. I wouldn't be surprised as well if Keep Me in Mind ends up in the Breeders' Cup Classic as well, because he just seems like that kind of horse that likes to go long. All right, I'll ask this question just because this is what we do for these races, but is there anything that could happen here? Okay, so like if Olympiad wins, to me, this is more of a race about American Revolution, because if Olympiad rebounds and wins, how confident are you, considering he kind of showed that he can't hang with Life is Good, and we don't even think Life is Good is the best horse. So what is it? Is American Revolution? Is there anything that could happen in this race that kind of stops you, at least for the time being, before we wait for Flightline to say, okay, maybe that horse is a serious horse?
Well, it's all come down to Flightline, right? So whoever wins this race, they are a serious horse until we see what Flightline does. And if he goes out and just demolishes, it's like, well, now you're a serious horse for second. I think Olympiad, if he bounces back and runs the way we've been seeing him, then you certainly just draw a line through that Whitney and say, yeah, he just wasn't great that day. And he comes back to being a primetime contender. So I do think the winner of this race is going to be one that we might look at and say, yeah, he's got a shot. But again, it all boils down to what happens at Del Mar a little bit later on in the day. If Olympiad doesn't run Flightline doesn't run very well, all of a sudden the Jockey Club becomes a very important race.
Yeah, it's very possible that we seem excited about this race for what time does this race go off? For like 3 hours, 2 hours, and you're like, oh, that was really nice performance. American Revolution, finally got it done, and then Flightline shows up, and you say, yeah, he can't hang with that horse,
That's the worry. Yeah, that's where you do a reaction video, and it's like, hey, I liked it, that was awesome, and then it's like, oh, so that's what you're scared of for sure with this one.
But I do think this race. Tax in there, looked good last time out when gate to wire. Maybe that's the fashion, and especially drawing the rail that they try to do here. Untreated has been a horse that likes to be forwardly placed. American Revolution likes to be forwardly placed. So you got to assume that if some of these races or some of these horses aren't very good, it could flatter a horse like Olympiad that definitely likes to come out of it, or a horse like Keep Me in Mind, or even Dynamic One. I guess I'll throw him in there, to where this race could be like, ugh, they went really fast early, and then, Keep Me in Mind got up. It's like, great. So whatever. So it definitely has the ability to kind of keep you interested as far as until Flightline runs. But you gotta watch this, assuming all things are equal, until we see Flightline. So, for right now, our pick is the 5 American Revolution, and we'll see if he can get the job done on Saturday. Man, my allergies have been terrible last 24 hours.
It's getting to be that season again. Your house hasn't been burnt down. That's good.
Yeah, he's been pretty good, really. I'm kind of dreading going inside in the kitchen, but yes, we did. So you just have to rewind a little bit to watch that. But yeah, we talked about the Flower Bowl. Not much to talk about other than Warlike Goddess being a dominant winner.
Yeah.
We're almost done. You doing all right? Yeah, you got gum? Yeah. All right, that's all the time we have. Check out racingdudes.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing Dudes premium button at the menu at racingdudes.com to learn more. Remember to go get your hands on the inside tracks for the 2022 Pacific Classic wagering guide. Now available on the website at racingdudes.com. Halter and I have been working on that. We'll get the picks pretty much ready to go. Just waiting for the final touches to be made, and they'll be available on the website very, very soon. Remember, we are your destination site for all free horse racing picks to all the major horse racing tracks. We're on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off. I'm doing really good. by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Google Pod, all the places you listen to podcasts. Make sure you go to YouTube, youtube.com/racingdudes to subscribe. If you like our content, make sure you go and subscribe to our channel. Tons of content coming out over the next 2 months leading up to the Breeders' Cup. We'll be, I mean, now once these 2 meets end here, we're gonna that's pretty much all you'll be seeing is a lot of Breeders' Cup previews, a lot of Breeders' Cup analysis leading up to that big event. So make sure you go to our YouTube page and subscribe. The Magic Mike Show, I saw, what are they doing? They are doing Kentucky Downs.
Yep, Kentucky Downs.
Kentucky Downs is back. How about that, dude? You talk about?
Did you know Kentucky Downs is back?
I did know Kentucky Downs was back. Yes, I realized when I said it, it didn't sound like I did.
Right.
But I mean, go look at the email blast this morning. You'll know I did. But yeah, I definitely, I don't know, like it doesn't have the same steam as it used to in my world, anyways. But I am excited to have it back, and of course that we do have. I think it's next week we have a Breeders' Cup Challenge race there, so that's kind of cool as well.
Yep. Very cool.
Yeah, so make sure you go check out the Magic Mike Show. They're doing Kentucky Downs late pick 4 Thursdays. Did they already do it?
They did today.
Or they do another one.
Going on. Yep.
Well, there you go. Get on it then, guys.
Check it out in the next 5 minutes.
Final thoughts? What you got?
Yeah, great weekend again. Got college football kicking off this weekend as well. Yeah, I probably will be at the Oklahoma Derby. I'll let you know on that one. Yeah, it's definitely another great weekend of racing. Usually, the Saturday after the Travers, it's like, yeah, it's okay. It's really good because the Pacific Classic, like I said, this weekend, and that makes it extra special. So I think we're in for another good one.
Real quick, thoughts on, we obviously were very excited about it. We talked a lot about it. What are your thoughts on the 8 Life Grand and the Travers? What were your thoughts on that performance, what we'll see from him next, that kind of stuff?
I bet they go back to Iowa and win an Iowa bred race with him next. I don't think that's where I would have wanted him early. I really thought he'd be mid-pack, make a little bit of a run and see where he fell. I don't think that was a great ask of him to try to press Cyberknife, and I think that really hurt him. But he still wasn't awful. He was only beaten 4 or 5 lengths for second. So I thought it was a decent effort for him, and I'm sure they wanted to finish a little bit better than that, but still, them being there was incredible. Him running in the race was incredible. Where he finished wasn't really that big of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, what was he, like 5 lengths out of second?
Yep.
So it's like him doing that style was never gonna. The only way he hangs on in that race and hits the board from that setup is like he is like way better than you thought he was, because that was a lot to ask, like you said. And Cyberknife, I think, is a legit candidate for the Classic, and that's a lot to ask a horse that's kind of is up against it to try to run with Cyberknife early in the race. And obviously he beat one horse, so
he beat the Preakness winner.
So really,
that's what I told him to say. Like, you came up to Saratoga, you ran in the Travers, and you beat the Preakness winner.
You could argue you kind of won the Preakness, right? I mean, isn't that how that works?
I think that's how that works.
Yeah. If you beat the Preakness winner, you get the Preakness title now, I think.
Right, yeah.
Even though the horse like limped home, doesn't matter. The horse did finish the race.
He literally walked across the finish line, but you beat him, and you beat him by many lengths. You were not walking, at least. So I don't know.
Honestly, that's what I did. I was like, well, I mean, the whole turn and stretch. I'm watching Epicenter because we have a huge bet. And 8 Life Grand is not gonna run.
Yeah.
And so I'm just, and then as soon as Epicenter, we're like right past the wire. As soon as Epicenter wins, I flash back and I'm like, all right, where is Grand? And I see this horse. I'm like, oh, please don't be 8 Life. And it was like, oh, don't worry, that was really voting. We're good. he beat that horse. So yeah, I mean, I love that they did it. I think there's zero regrets from their camp. Certainly not from me. They gave it a shot. What more can you ask for? I think that's the biggest thing. And people are going to criticize them, and why are they? They should never done that. That was a stupid move to run there. I disagree. Knowing them like we know them, knowing the owners, the connections, all that's it's a once in a lifetime kind of experience. And they had a shot to win the Travers. That's really all it came down to. It didn't work out, but
yeah,
you can't win if you don't run, right? So,
well, I think they had a good time. It seemed like they were having a good time. So,
final question is: Rich Strike. Did Rich Strike? I don't want to ask this. Did he validate his Derby win at all in the Travers?
Somewhat, I think he did. I don't think he showed that he's like an elite horse, but you go watch the replay back. They didn't take him off that rail. He may have gotten second. They took him off the rail again at the stretch, and he just wanted to lug back in the whole time. I don't know what his deal is with wanting to do that, but so I'm not talking shit on this horse. He ran a hell of a lot better than I thought he would. I mean, a hell of a lot better. I did not think he had beat very many in that race. Listen, he wasn't awful. He was not awful. I'll definitely say that. He was really close to second in that race.
I think it's one of those things that I don't know that he validated his win, but at the same time, he certainly, because you can't to run down the way he did in the Derby is insane. But he also it was right there in the middle between his Belmont effort and his Derby effort. Let's just put it that way, kind of. I think he ran well. He certainly didn't run bad, like a lot of people thought.
Didn't embarrass himself. He was not embarrassing at all. And again, you watch it back when they turn for home, he's on that rail and he's moving. And they took him off, and all he wanted to do was go right back to it. So he's a weird horse, okay? But he was never going to beat the winner. Nobody was. But I don't know. Maybe
I don't understand why they took him off the rail. Why did they take him off the rail again? I think we learn that in the Belmont, just keep him on the rail at all costs.
I certainly, again, I wasn't watching him when it happened, but watching it back, it was like, don't know why you did that. That you've said he loves the rail, just run him on it. And if he gets stopped, well, whatever. I certainly wouldn't take him out to the middle portion of the track. If he gets to the rail, he's running up on somebody. Yeah, sure. You're going to have to get out, but I wouldn't swing him wide ever again. Because again, go watch it. He's moving, and they swing him out, and he stops. And he ran in place the whole stretch. So
yep, he didn't move after that.
Yeah,
he didn't move after that. But really past that race doesn't really matter because Epicenter was the horse that was the clear standout of that 3-year-old crop. He's clearly the number one 3-year-old. Probably locked up 3-year-old honors, I'd say, with that win. I guess unless I don't know, charge it. It seems like he's probably out.
He's done
for the foreseeable future. I guess if the only way you could do it is if a 3-year-old not named Epicenter won the Classic, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah,
it'd be hard.
You could unseat him there.
If Taba were to win the Pennsylvania Derby and the Classic, that would be a tough comparison to Epicenter.
Yeah, it's going to take something.
That's what it would take.
Or if Epicenter's nowhere to be found and Jack Christopher wins the sprint, then maybe he
that's true.
There, but I doubt it.
Yeah, Jack Christopher certainly is not out of this thing if he can continue to run in the right races and Epicenter were to falter, quite a bit in the Inside the Classic. He definitely could get some votes for sure. Maybe win the thing. So we'll find out. That's all the time we have, guys. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend.